because it's the silly, stupid, fascinating, weird, wonderful. They're my people, and more often than not, they're the geeky people as well.
But this real sense that what you do as you emerge out of Middle Earth in your real life is you hope, because Tolkien's so good at capturing that.
I mentioned Betamax. For anybody older, that's the old version of a video cassette. A video cassette is an old version of a DVD. A DVD is not set in the cloud.
And I said, I'm not happy, I've got bits wrong here. And she said, yeah, but that's all part of the learning process. That's all part of that makes it unique to you, that those kind of imperfections within it.
Good evening. Welcome to the Man versus Food of the live stream and podcasts, where we try and make enough space to kind of challenge ourselves. We go forward and find the biggest item on the menu to gorge ourselves, and then in record time try to digest it without any long-lasting health impact. Welcome to another episode of Faith and Geekery. I decided to go for a very niche, I think it's 2008,
yeah, it
2008 kind of
Old
reference
school.
to a series. Yes, this is another episode of Faith and Geekery. My name is Mark, and
My name is
this
Becca.
And I'm Tim.
Hello, Tim.
Welcome.
Hello,
Welcome,
Becca. Hello,
everybody.
Mark.
Tonight we are doing something a little bit different in regards to the comments, and so there is a little black box down here, a faded black box, which will not Tim's computer, but on the screen, which will display things as you comment. And so please don't be rude. Yeah, that might be a bit of a dodgy thing, mightn't it? Yeah, don't swear. We are live, and
Sugar.
We'll see where we go, how we go, and whatever. So tonight we are going to be exploring the Great Unread pile, and we'll come on to that in a little while. But for now, we ask the same question that we always ask ourselves, is what geekiness have we been up to since we last gathered? Anyone would like to start?
Ooh.
Nope. Should we go home?
Yeah.
Would you like to,
what have I
Becca?
done? Quick run through. I planted tomatoes in my glorious greenhouse, which is very lovely. I couldn't decide which one, so I've planted 6 different types, and they're now in a race up the string. And this week, it has been Relay for Life for the American Cancer Society, and Second Life is a huge participator in that. We walked around our track, and I think we've raised something short of $500,000 in this relay season, which brought our Second Life as a community to its $6 million mark in the time that it's been raising money for Relay for Life. So I got to build my little campsite and my plot. It gives kind of education stuff about cancer research and cancer recovery, and also provides quite a lot of kind of lovely space for remembering people that have battled through it and either died or survived. So really great kind of, it's where that geekiness and that community focus really came together. So it's been great.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well done. Well done. Folks, feel free to comment what you've been up to, geekiness or otherwise. Tim, what have you been up to?
I have been doing a lot, but the main thing I would say is I've been praying as well, a lovely game called Clair Obscure Expedition 33, which is if you've played Final Fantasy and Dark Souls, it's both of those games mashed together and then like, do you know how like in the Powerpuff Girls, it was like these elements and then Element X. The Element X, which was the accidental thing added last minute, was France, because it's an incredibly French game. Like you get like berets and striped shirts.
So
and
stereotypically French game.
Oh,
Stereotypical.
well, is it stereotypically French when it's made by French people?
It's
Is that kind of thing?
self-stereotyping.
A baguette is a weapon in the game.
Other bread products are available in France.
I would also argue a baguette can also be a weapon outside of the game too.
It's just a really, really good game. Like the story is really in depth, the gameplay is really great, and the music is one of those things where I'm one of those ADHD people who have multiple things happening at the same time. So normally, if it's music, I just mute it a little bit because I want to focus on doing other things at the same time. This is a game where I've actually increased the level of the music so I can hear it more often, and then actually listen to some of it while I'm driving.
Oh, cool.
Like it's very bit of classical mixed with techno, mixed with jazz, mixed with a few other things. But each character has their own individual theme, and each area has their own theme, and it's layers on layers on layers on layers.
What's the name of the game?
Claire Obscure Expedition 33. It also stars Charlie Cox as the main character, even though he looks like Robert Pattinson in the game. Which, when you see it, let me know in the comments if you agree.
And let us know in the comments if you ever see it.
Yes. This is genuinely a really good game. It's also one of those games which there's a lot more articles and stories being written about it because it's kind of going against the grain with it being a 40 to 50 pound game, where we've got lots of games now putting themselves at 80 pounds baseline and not necessarily being a good game. So it's one of those kind of like games that is like sticking it to big corporate gaming, in the sense that it's a well-made game, well-produced, it's amazing cast, amazing graphics, amazing gameplay, really tight, and it's only for 40 to 50 pounds bracket, which when you look at, say, Mario is 80 pounds right now, and it's predicted that when Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out, it will be about 80 to 100 pounds for the game. It's that kind of like, well, actually,
do you remember when they were £35?
I remember when the cassettes were £2.50, I tell you.
But it's that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Right, a cassette. No, I'm not going to go there.
You already do that in the credits.
I know. And I can't even remember that either.
What about you, Mark? What have you been up to?
I have been getting ready for a triathlon on Saturday, including downloading the email to see what time I have to turn up and register on Saturday, which is like, that's going to be the challenge. Being able to be awake at that time and then run early. So that'll be fun. But I've been breaking in my new trainers, which I mentioned last week. And in fact, I think I share a photo or two on Geeky Gallery, but I did a really good time, even though I was waiting for a train to cross my route. So all is going well in the right direction, hopefully. So,
do you approach your running in any particular geeky type way? Are you recording it? Are you using apps to monitoring it?
So I do Strava, because if it doesn't happen on Strava, then it doesn't exist.
Obviously,
basically, you could have all. Do you know what I mean? It's a way of kind of, for those who are interested, because I very rarely share it beyond Strava, but I do know some people who do. But Strava is that kind of opportunity to share it amongst a community of like-minded people who either cycle, run, or swim even. Not sure if people do that, but they can kind of share the information there. So I've still got like similar friends on Facebook, but I just don't like to bore people on Facebook or Instagram with all my kind of Strava stuff. Whereas it's just nicely encouraging. Kind of, my sister encourages me a bit, I encourage my friends, and it's all kind of a nice uplifting community. But the joke is, if it doesn't happen on Strava, then it doesn't exist, because that's the place where it records it. So but yeah, I think it's quite good. It's a good exercise for me physically, but it's also a nice mental exercise. I also listen to Dice Company and to Hello High Rollers podcasts as I go for a run as well, and also have just a bit of chill time after and before. So
Strava, if you want to sponsor us in the future, let us know.
And folks, you can comment with our new feature. If it works, don't know.
We don't know yet.
Absolutely.
Maybe you are and we just can't see. But that's fine.
We're not. They're not. So, shall we move on to the geeky news?
Yeah. This is the Faith and Geekery news, broadcast to your home and around the world. So, the news from the Faith and Geekery newsroom is this. If you have not seen what's been on the interwebs this last week, you may not know there's lots of various online shows demonstrating the future of video games and TV shows and movies, depending on which place you're at. As part of that, there are many new games that have been announced, and so this, the announcer and newsreader for this geeky news, shall do a short 5-second intro of each of the highlights of the new games, but not in this obnoxious voice. Games that have been announced is the Cube, which is Fortnite but on a Rubik's Cube. Resident Evil Requiem, it's the 9th one. That's all I need to say about that. Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, it's Mario Kart but cheaper and with more characters. The Expanse, Osiris Reborn, it's like the TV show, but you can create a character in it. And here's one that, as a shout out to many people in our community, Herding. It's fantasy cattle farming.
What?
It's yes.
Hang on, gotta Google it.
Herding. It's a fantasy cattle farming game with fantasy cows and fantasy sheep, and a lovely art style. It's like I went through the list, and that was like I had to put in here.
We know who that's for.
Call of the Elder Gods, a puzzle game based around Cthulhu, which means double insanity. And Firefighter Simulator, because you can only play House Flipper and Power Wash Simulator so much without wishing to burn it down. And finally, Mouse, PI for Hire, a 1930s noir detective shooter in the style of Steamboat Mickey.
I feel as if I've seen some reference to that already. So are these all coming out to be out soon?
To be out soon, yeah.
Oh, cool.
There's also a few more within that as well, but those are the kind of the highlights I found. But Summer Games Fest and the Future Games Show is happening right now. So there's going to be more announcements over the next coming weeks, including Death Stranding 2 is getting a whole day release, plus there's Sony State of Play and all that. IGN Live did a really good deep dive into new TV shows and stuff coming out as well. But this week has been the big, all the summer video game announcements.
And Dune just came out as well.
Dune.
That is already on one of the family laptops.
Dune.
I have not played it.
I haven't played that Dune. I have played a board game to PC version of Dune where you can play as each of the houses and do like worker placement. But yeah, they're the games that are coming out.
Very cool.
Aside from Herding, any of those take anyone's fancy?
Oh, I'm obsessed with the Herding now. That's what I want to do. I can't find it. Who made it?
Let me just.
As you're searching,
Herdling.
Herdling.
Okay.
I was going to say the one bit of news I had seen is the Apple has announced their new iOS 26, and
they're doing it by year now, aren't they?
Yeah, it's a bit weird though because the main kind of keynote they're going, oh, it's all kind of new but exactly the same. You know, is that kind of like it's very futuristic, but it's all native and natural to you because it's the same old. There is also this kind of liquid glass that they're going with design wise, which it's meant to look more natural, and as you kind of highlight things and swipe things and otherwise, but I'm not going to go in. It doesn't really embody kind of cliff edge changes. It just seems to just be polishing the same old a bit. There might be a phone app coming to the Mac though. That might be significant, but I don't know.
Was
Unless
that
you got your
the
phone
same
next to you.
announcement? Was that the same announcement, or was it an early announcement where if you have something on your phone, you can put your Apple phone towards your Mac, and then it will just appear on your Mac? Or was that something different?
I didn't actually catch that bit, so that sounds quite cool. The only thing is you've got to be intentional with it, don't you? Or rather, you need to be aware of it, because it was at Cliff when Carla and I was sat next to each other, and we both had our phones out, and because they were really close to each other, they started interacting, and we're like, "Oh, what's no? We don't want to share these things," because it was just the tech was too clever for us.
Apple creating safeguarding concerns since what year did they come out?
I don't know, but equally, Apple, if you want to sponsor us, get in the queue after Strava and Man versus Food.
If you want a Man versus Food thing, Adam, what's his name, who hosted that, is actually running his own internet show on First Week Feast, which is the same show that does Hot Ones, where he goes around different eateries and looks at like the best way to order a sandwich and like the customer hacks and things like that. But it's the Man versus Food about the
food.
Yeah,
about the food.
Well, I was about to say the
sheer gluttony.
Yeah, without the competitive eating and ruining of your insides.
On that note, is that the end of Geeky News?
Going once, going twice. Yes. See you next time.
I'm back to the studio.
Very good. Shall we now
Faith and Geekery?
Shall we move on to the quiz, or are we going to introduce the subjects or otherwise? What do you want to go for? Let's go for
Is the quiz based on the theme?
The last question of the quiz is based on the theme.
Okay.
So shall we introduce the theme first? I
think
this first came up because in our Geeky Gallery there was a comment left by your good self, Tim.
Yeah, it's by me.
About your pile. Sorry.
My piles. I have a lovely pile of books that I need to read, and I know everyone has a to be read pile, and that pile is either multiple stacks in multiple places, done on themes, or is just slowly gaining more dust as new books get placed on top. But this is a selection of some of the books that either I want to read or have started and then stopped reading, or as I've said here, gone off on an ADHD rabbit hole and looked somewhere else entirely. So there's a selection of books. This is what I just want to, for various reasons, which we'll get into later. I just want to get around reading to, really.
So that encouraged us to talk about the Great Unread or Great Unread pile. Sorry, Great Unread or Great Unread pile, and that also kind of initiated a bit of a theme for us about. Is it the Great So the movies movies and series that we want to watch or like to return back to.
Yeah.
And I've forgotten the full kind of bit of it about it, but something along those lines. So we're going to be doing a series of these.
This is a short arc.
Yes, but for today it is about the unread, or the unread pile.
But before then, let's have a quiz. You no longer have to deal with waiting for a video of me to queue up, because let's do it live! So the normal rules apply for this Faith and Geekery quiz. If you have not been to a Faith and Geekery quiz before, we have 5 questions and 5 answers, and there will be 5 answers this time. I may be nice and give you bonus points later on. We'll deal with that as we get to it.
You're here so that we can argue for the points.
Know.
This is nice.
I know.
This is good.
The only thing you're missing is my pause face, but I'll put one out there just in case.
I think you need to do it for points yourself, really.
I do, yeah. Podcast viewers, you're missing out on the lovely pause face I'm going to be doing. There's going to be 5 questions, 5 answers. I'm going to read the questions out twice and any multiple choice answers. And then once we've gone through all 5 questions, we will go through the answers, to which some arguing may happen.
And no cheating by giving away answers, especially as it's going to occur up on the screen for those who can see it.
Yes.
That's true. Don't say your answers out
Podcast
loud.
viewers, you are saved. So, pens, pencils, typing implements at the ready. Let's go on with the quiz. With question number 1. Magic the Gathering is launching today on its online form a collaboration with Final Fantasy. When was the first Final Fantasy game released? Either A, December 18th, 1987, B, July 12th, 1990, C, December 17th, 1988, or D, July 19th, 1991. When was the first Final Fantasy released? December 18th, 1987, July 12th, 1990, December 17th, 1988, or July 19th, 1991.
It's going to be a guess for me. I think I remember playing one when it was single digits, but I can't remember much before that. Nice pause face. Suddenly realised.
Nice pause face. It's good. You'd have done that until we noticed.
Question number 2. Long Way Home debuts on Apple TV this week. For those that remember, Apple TV is a thing. In which Ewan McGregor and Charlie Borman go on a motorcycle journey from Scotland to England via 15 other countries.
Oh no. In
what year did the duo release their first docuseries, Long Way Round? 2003, 2004, 2005, or 2006? In what year did McGregor and Borman release their first docuseries, Long Way Round? 2003, 2004, 2005, 2006.
It's going to be another punt.
But the premise for Long Way Home is basically they're going from Ewan's front door in Scotland to Charlie's front door in southern England via multiple other countries to get there on their bikes as normal. And it's released every Friday on Apple TV. But Apple TV are awful at advertising their shows. You should sponsor us to advertise your shows, Apple. Question number viewers. 3. For our 4 viewers, yes.
And many more on podcast.
Yes, that's true. Hi, podcast viewers.
Question number 3. On this day in 1947, which Swedish car manufacturer produced its first automobile? A, Volvo. B, Koenigsegg. C, Saab. Or D, Uniti. On this day in 1947, which Swedish car manufacturer produced its first automobile? A, Volvo. B, Koenigsegg. C, Saab. Or D, Uniti.
As soon as you started going down Swedish and car manufacturer, I was thinking, how quickly are you going to scrape the barrel? Because I knew 2 of those quite easily.
I will say, when I was looking at the list, it turns out a number of Swedish car companies are now owned by conglomerates of 2 of those companies.
That sounds about right.
So unless you wanted variations of the same answers.
No.
Question.
But thank you for the multiple choice so far, by the way.
Yes.
Anytime.
It's appreciated.
The next question is not a multiple choice. Instead, I want you to put these in order.
Oh no.
Walter Brueggemann died last week at the age of 92. Put these books of his in chronological order. The books are Sabbath as Resistance, A Gospel of Hope, The Prophetic Imagination, and Out of Babylon. Put these books in chronological order. Sabbath as Resistance, A Gospel of Hope, The Prophetic Imagination, and Out of Babylon. I will give a half point if you get 2 of them in the correct place.
Not even heard of those, so going really well.
It did turn out he did a lot of writing, mainly in the latter part of his life. Who knew?
So if people don't know Brueggemann, he was a theologian. That's about all I know.
Yeah. Theologian, did quite a lot of writing of theology books, like one of the modern authorities on Old Testament scripture.
I was also about to joke as well and sort of say, yeah, and yo-yo champion, world champion of 1973, but that is a lie. So I
didn't realize that I didn't realize he was actually American. He was born in Alaska.
There you go.
Cool.
There you go. Yeah. Question number 5. This is going to be an interesting one.
Relatively speaking.
Going by the BBC's Big Read survey, which of the following books are in the top 10 best-loved novels in the UK? So I'm going to give you 10 books.
Oh.
There are 4 possible right answers. Okay. So the 10 books, of which 4 of them are the right answer, are 1984, His Dark Materials, Gone with the Wind, Dune, Animal Farm, Goodnight, Mr. Tom, The Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, Wuthering Heights, and Pride and Prejudice. Those books again: 1984, His Dark Materials, Gone with the Wind, Dune, Animal Farm, Goodnight, Mr. Tom, The Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, Wuthering Heights, and Pride and Prejudice. There are 4 possible right answers.
I've gone for a bit of a shotgun approach in the hope that I'll hopefully get some.
You will get a correct point per correct answer for that.
That's really good. People have been very quiet on the comments. I don't know if it's because we've scared people off by showing their potential comments, but no one is commenting at all, which is very rare.
That is very rare.
Unless they're all stuck in another Methodist gathering.
That's true. It is a good one today.
As a Connection employee, I shall make no comment. Anyway, let's go through these answers. Question number 1. When was the first Final Fantasy released? Now, if you put either December 18th, 1987 or July 12th, 1990, that is a correct answer. The 1987 was the first Japanese release.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't released in North America until 1990. The other 2 answers, Final Fantasy II, the 1988 one, was the release. And then, confusingly, Final Fantasy IV was released in Japan in 1991, but it was released in North America as Final Fantasy II. So if you answered either December 18th, 1987 or July 12th, 1990, those are correct answers. Take a point.
I got 88, so no points. But I remember Final Fantasy something on the PlayStation.
7. It'll be 7.
Yeah. So, and I think that's why I was like, oh, this is early.
7 has been remade so many times. Yeah. But yeah. Question number 2. Long Way Home debuts on Apple TV this week. What year did the duo first release their docuseries Long Way Round? It was 2004.
Yes.
Oh.
I thought they'd done more docuseries than they actually have. They've only done about 5. I thought they'd done a few more, but yeah, there you go.
I think I remember my friend's house where I went to go and see it as they were having it on the TV. So that was helpful.
Sorry,
Question.
The cat is purring right next to the microphone.
Hello, cat.
I thought at one point it was trying to bite it.
No.
Question number 3. On this day in 1947, which Swedish car manufacturer produced its first automobile? Mark, what did you say?
I put Volvo.
Becca, what did you say?
I put Saab.
Becca, you're correct. Uniti is an electrical car company from Sweden. They came into being in 2016. Koenigsegg came to being in 1994 or something. But there are not many companies that.
Is it Sweden? Who is it? Where they? I'm sure I saw it or heard about it on No Such Thing as a Fish, where there was a band who went around and toured with an electric car, and it kept on getting. They didn't have to pay any road tax, but it wasn't legally on the road, and it was like back in the 1970s. And basically, what they did was, because they wanted to be better for the world, they drove around in this electric car, and every so often it would get taken, impounded by the police, because it wasn't allowed to be on the road because they had no legislation for electric cars, and basically they would just buy the car back and go out on the road again with it. And it's happened so many times that in the end the local authorities kind of went, you know what, let's just say that electric cars don't have to do this. And that started the kind of Swedish electric car boom, because it suddenly didn't have to do tax.
Couldn't be bothered to maintain the law.
Anyway, sorry,
or
bit of a side cul-de-sac, but carry on, Tim.
Question number 4. Put these Walter Brueggemann books in chronological order. The answer, in order, remember you get a half a point if you get 2 of them correct. The first book came out in 1978, and that was The Prophetic Imagination. Then we're going to skip ahead a number of decades. Out of Babylon was next, came out in 2010. Sabbath as Resistance came out in 2014. And A Gospel of Hope, 2018.
No points.
I got Babylon and Sabbath as the second and the third.
Yeah, so you get half a point.
Half a point.
That's half a point. Now, question number 5. Out of these 10 books, which are the 4 were in the top 10?
This is a point for each correct
Points
answer.
for each
right?
correct answer.
Okay, good.
So, the number 1 book was The Lord of the Rings.
Rubbish.
The number 10 book was Pride and Prejudice. The number 3 book was His Dark Materials. And the number 4 book was 1984.
Cool,
so if you answered 1984, Pride and Prejudice, Lord of the Rings, and His Dark Materials, you get a point for each.
I leant towards The Hobbit rather than Lord of the Rings.
Hobbit was number 22, I believe.
Cool. Wow. Well, thank you, Tim, because that is the first time I've got 4.5 points out of 5 questions. Obviously, there's more points, but I think that is the best that I've ever done. Well done.
Thank you. It's not 5 out of 5, but let's forget that.
Yeah, exactly.
No, you got 5.
In the
that's the right man.
5 question quiz, I got 5 points.
So, folks, do comment what your scores are and how well you did. I mean, that was a record high for us both. I think
it was.
I think I need like something behind me where I can.
We do probably need to start tracking.
Or tracking out of how many possible points, and we just see one number.
Percentage, yes.
So that is the end of the quiz. Shall we mosey on over to the great
conversation
UNread?
Let's sit down on the piles of books that we have not yet read.
So who wants to launch into this?
Okay.
I think what I've realised about my books is that the ones I haven't read, but I've sat sitting there waiting for me to absorb them by osmosis, are books that I feel are really important, but they're a little bit more dry. So if I buy a non-fiction book, I'll generally read that. If I find a book that I think, no, I really want this to be part of my life, and it feels earnest, then I'm less likely to pick it up. So my pile of books, and I've just got a selection of 5 from one from each of the bookshelves, is quite earnest.
Yeah, mine are books that I really wanted to. The ones that I'm really interested in the topic, and is the ones where I will listen to a load of podcasts and watch a load of talks on, and then go, actually, I want to read this myself. I'll go out and get a secondhand copy because I know I probably won't get around to it for a while. And then, with the best of intentions, start reading a page or two. And then my neurospiciness takes over and goes, yeah, this is a lot of words. You need to like put it down for a little bit. And the way I kind of tricked my brain a little bit into reducing the pile is by getting the audiobook version of the physical book, so I can listen to the audiobook version and remove the physical book from the pile, but then use that physical book as a reference point for anything in particular that I hear on the audiobook version.
Okay.
Have you ever tried to read along as an audiobook's being read?
No, only because I listen to audiobooks while I'm driving. And it's not safe to read a physical book while you're driving.
Yeah. Well done. Yeah, no, that's a good point.
But like so the audiobook I'm listening to at the moment again, because I listened to it on the way back from Cliff Festival, is How to Be a Bad Christian by Dave Tomlinson. And I got the audio version that I finished, and I'm just re-listening to it just to let it absorb a little bit more. And I have the physical book with me, and I kind of like the idea of sitting down and like reading through it, but having someone read it to me. But I think, if I remember, Richard Osman was on The Rest is Entertainment, talked about audiobook length versus reading it in person. Like, if you read it yourself, you read naturally faster. So it's not faster to listen to an audiobook. If anything, it takes an extra 4 to 5 hours longer, depending on the size of the book and the contents and whatever, to listen to the audiobook versus reading it yourself.
I'd argue that because I tend to read and I'm going to go, oh, I've stopped taking in these words. I've been reading about a page and a half. I'm going to have to go back.
Yeah.
But that's why I am fairly rubbish at reading. When I'm kind of engaged and excited to read something. But I think for me, overwhelmed, because my books that I just grabbed really quickly are very thick books. And I think that is the overwhelm for me, is that I really want the really exciting and really interesting books I really want to read, but I just, they're going to go, oh, it's a massive old book, and I want to be able to, I want to give it attention. And I think that's the issue for me, is that I'm just juggling everything otherwise. But I guess just before we go any further, I think this is the intention for our kind of gathering tonight, is to kind of, gather around and share our pile of books in order to kind of encourage, or to kind of get alongside, commiserate with, and or be accountable to, if you wish, but at the same time just delight in the books that we do have, and also kind of to maybe inspire, but also to just to recognize that we're not on our own with our piles of books.
I'm just going to pick 3 out of the large pile just to go through, because, well, there's, so the first one is actually one that Shelby gave me for Christmas a number of years ago, that I read a couple of pages of, and then my brain went, you can't deal with that right now. It's called Hamlet's Hit Points.
Is that a TTRPG reference, or
kind of?
I guess you haven't read the book.
So from the few pages that I remember, it basically looks at a number of movies, books, and TV shows, and looks at story pacing, and basically it's meant to help you plan D&D, plan your own TTRPG campaigns and the story beats. and if you're writing your own book, plan the story beats with it. So it'll kind of it puts like different categories on what is good tension, bad tension, what builds something up in the story, what keeps people ingrained, when is it good to slow the narrative, when is it good to speed up the narrative. And it's a lot of that, with the key one being, it's the key example they give is Hamlet, hence Hamlet's hit points. But it's one of those ones where I'm like, maybe because I do a lot of D&D anyway, I'm really interested in the idea of mapping out story beats. So whenever I've played written campaigns, like which are published, I really dislike them. Like, there's some good stuff in there, but the pacing seems really off because it's coming at it from a really mechanical view of, if you're playing D&D, you must do X number of combat sessions per session and all that. Whereas the campaigns I've been a part of, the campaigns I enjoy listening to, are a lot more narrative based, and you can kind of, even with those campaigns, when you're listening back to them, you can see the plot threads and the plot points and how it works. And I've always liked trying to understand that, because then I can then go, okay, what can I learn from that? So it's on the to be read pile.
Very good. Thank you. You've just sent me down a little rabbit warren. There's a TikTok trend at the moment. Is it John Adams? Is the Hamilton song of John Adams? I knew him. It's the King George kind of reminiscing about who's next going to be president, and they're just using that as a vehicle to kind of remember the plot points in TTRPGs, of kind of going, oh yeah, that when the DM mentions this kind of character from session 2, and you're like, oh yeah, I knew him. No, I do get that, and especially the kind of the narrative of these kind of games and otherwise. But that's cool. So that's a good book and more with a practical application. Becca, how about you?
I pulled this one to the top of the pile. What was your one about? How to be a bad Christian?
Yes.
So this one is Do I Even Stay Christian, which is a Brian McLaren. A guide for doubters, the disappointed and the disillusioned. And do you want I'll read the blurb on the back.
It's a sequel to my next book on my pile.
Oh, there you go. A Faith After Doubt.
Yeah.
There we go. And I do have Life After Doom, which I have actually started and have had to have a pause for my own sanity. So I'll read the blurb for those that don't know Brian McLaren or want to know what Do I Stay Christian has to say about itself. Do I Stay Christian addresses in public the powerful question that surprising numbers of people, including pastors, priests, and other religious leaders, are asking in private. Picking up where Brian's Faith After Doubt leaves off, there you go, little sneaky peek. Do I Stay Christian is not McLaren's attempt to persuade Christians to dig in their heels or run for the exit. Instead, he combines his own experience with that of thousands of people who have confided in him over the years to help readers make a responsible, honest, ethical decision about their religious identity. There is a way to say both yes and no to the question of staying Christian. McLaren says by shifting the focus from whether we stay Christian to how we stay human. If Do I Stay Christian is the question you're asking, or if it's a question that someone you love is asking, this is the book you've been waiting for.
Thank you. Jen Wren has said, hey, you beautiful people. Heart. Welcome, Jen. And also, Brian McLaren, if you want to sponsor us, and you can join the queue after Apple and Strava.
I want to know what Brian McLaren gets geeky about. That would be
Brian
great.
McLaren, if you're a green belt this year, come say hi.
Yeah, because we should be at green belt this year as well, so that'll be exciting for those people.
You and bring you into our embrace.
Oh, I thought it was like a Liam Neeson kind of, we will find you. I have certain skills.
I
Very good.
his last couple of books back at it's the reason I want to read Faith After Doubt is that kind of he's got to that point where he's doing a lot of reflecting on the bits of Christianity we don't like to talk about. Where it's like, actually, no, what harm has the Christian faith done to the world, both environmentally, culturally, socially, everything? And let's recognize that baggage and why it prevents people from being able to say wholeheartedly that they are Christian. And as one of the I don't want to say, the godfathers of deconstruction, because he wouldn't like saying that anyway. But as someone who's in that deconstruction phase, like how a lot of his writing on that's been really interesting, especially because it's still got lots of people who are very firmly entrenched as being Christian, still reading a lot of his work and reflecting on it.
Yeah. No, he's great.
Can I mention one of my books, which isn't Christian or part of Brian McLaren's trilogy? This is Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. I loved it as a TV series and just kind of ate it all up. And I think it's on UK TV, maybe. I can't remember where
it's
it
on
is.
Amazon right now.
But I loved the series, and therefore I picked up the book. And I was aware that Susanna Clarke was kind of writing a sequel, but then due to ill health, and this is a big old volume.
Dense.
So I think that it may only be now a kind of novelette or like a little kind of conclusive thing, because I think she's been unwell. But I was kind of wanting to read this at some point in the knowledge that there was going to be a sequel, but kind of a little bit saddened that there isn't going to be a sequel. But understandably, she's not been very well, so it's kind of one of these things of I am looking forward to reading this, but it's just a bit of a shame that again it's that kind of I've shared this before about Terry Pratchett, about when there's no more to come. You're there kind of going, how do I kind of want to treasure and really kind of absorb and enjoy the old book, the whole series, the whole premise, the way that it's travelled. But again, I've not even started reading this at all, but again, I've really loved the series for it. Jen's put
A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara.
It sounds like Jen's actually reading that book, though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
I imagine out of the four of us as core team, Jen's to be read pile is a lot smaller. Although
she's actually reading it.
Mark has the smallest pile of books, but also the largest pile of books because they are quite hefty tomes. Where I think me and Becca are the opposite end, where we have like furniture made out of the piles of books we have yet to read.
I just really, I don't know, reading, I do like to read, and I do occasionally read. I think it's just I normally am a bit more scatty, and to kind of sit down and properly give time over to it, I think I feel as if I've got more energy to do other things.
Yeah, I don't know when to read anymore, because if I'm reading at bedtime, then the type of books that I buy to read are not the type of books that I want to be stimulating my brain when I need to be going to sleep. But then the rest of the time, it doesn't feel, I don't know, it feels like a waste of time to sit and read a book. But
I think I got to the point where I kind of ruined reading for me, because like from the sense that I went straight from doing English lit sociology and psychology to doing my theology degree while working. I just did so much reading within that, and it wasn't books for pleasure, it was books for work. And now I'm at a stage where I'm actually wanting to read books for pleasure and for work, like the last book on my pile is a very it has got some stuff in I have tried many times to read. It's called Spiral Dynamics: Mastering Values, Leadership, and Change, which is the driest title in the world for a book on presents a new framework for understanding the dynamic forces at work in human affairs, not only in business, but in personal lives, education, and even geopolitics, focusing on cutting-edge leadership, management systems, processes, procedures, and techniques. Spiral Dynamics synthesizes changes such as increasing cultural diversity, powerful new social responsibility initiatives, and the arrival of a truly global marketplace. But I got into reading this not for any of that, but for how that would impact faith and theology. Cool. So I wanted to get an understanding of how it worked, because I'd been at a number of conferences where this kind of was presented, but the actual mechanics of it wasn't presented. It was like, here's the lovely diagram, accept the diagram, and everyone did. And I'm like, I want to know what the diagram means, so I can understand what you're actually saying.
That makes sense.
But it is one of those books where I'm like, I really like enjoying it. I like every time I go into it, it's a very heavy couple of pages, but I can go back and read the same chapter over and over to kind of build that understanding up. So it's a really long burn, but it's still on the to be read pile.
You've got to be careful when talking about books and burning. It's dodgy ground. Is there any kind of before we move on to our geeky gallery, because that's a bit of a tome as well, because we didn't manage to share it last week. Is there anything left to conclude about the great unread pile?
I would personally love to see people in our Discord. Join the Discord if you haven't joined the Discord already. What is the one book from your to be read pile that you'd want to start reading, and why? And why? I think we'll probably get into it more with, say, the TV shows as well in the next couple of episodes. But my suspicion around why we have so much stuff on the to be read pile is just as much down to where we are as humans right now, and what's happening in our lives and in the background and the mental states and everything like that will directly impact how big and how quickly we want to get into the piles, is my hunch.
Yeah, that would be cool. So I was just looking, because next week is The Great Unwatched, which is the title, and then the following week is The Great Unfinished Kits and Crafts. So you can hopefully see a little bit of a theme happening there. Yeah. So we shall look forward to, again, as Tim says, about sharing stuff in the Discord, and I guess to add to the pile of the book recommendations and TV and series recommendations, why not add to the pile too? That is always going to be fun. Shall we move over to... this is the problem with these sort of things, isn't it? A random comment. Let's go to Geeky Gallery, shall we?
Yeah.
And first of all, so we are playing catch up from a little while back. We talked about hurdling. In fact, did we have Gareth talking about the farming simulator? I think we did. But this is, the Mega Drive game that's just come out, which feels very strange to talk about Mega Drive games just coming out. But I'm a fan of the Mega Drive, so that is good. Note just, what we'll have over the slides, by the way, is this ongoing creation. And spoiler, folks, we'll get to see the finished thing at the penultimate slide. So that's more of the kind of the shelf of the sidings and the tunnel with the Percy. Then had a little bit of the Roquefort cheese redemption. So, but with our cheese episode, that was the cheese that kind of glooped all over me. I decided to have that on homemade flatbread. My son came back from Scouts, really excited that he'd learned how to make flatbread, and I was like, oh yeah, I can do this. And turns out he can actually make really nice flatbread. I am fairly bad at it. Mendip Nomad has shared some kind of progress on his figurines and the like. and then packing and the magnetizing and all that kind of
I've
stuff.
very, very much enjoyed the magnetizing. That has been. I do love organizing a craft.
Well, yeah, and a colossal project, but I think with moving as well, it's going to have to kind of do it all very carefully and daintily, as well as been playing in a tournament. And then Phil has been sharing. I just love the fact that he's got a little mini of his dog. So we've got a picture of a greyhound model next to a picture of his actual greyhound, and I just think that is awesome.
It was called Simba.
Simba, yeah, very cool.
Love it.
Then moving on. So this is some pictures from Cliff College of Catan, of I've forgotten what the game was. I can't remember. But then a bit of our D&D sessions, as well as Mendip's magnets in the form of a Methodist logo as well. I think that is geeky and nerdy. Then Specky Geek had shared about the Magic the Gathering with friends. Mendip had shared about his birthday present of an analog watch, as well as trying out Mantic Games Dead Zone, which
another Warhammer thing.
I was going to say it looks an awful lot like Warhammer. Didn't want to offend.
Yeah.
Then Note just said about a geek shop called Nerdvana, comics and collectibles. That looks quite cool in Hereford.
That would be a good alternative name for Faith and Geekery.
Oh, I thought you were about to say, if you want to sponsor us, join the list. Oh, and a copy of some of the similar pictures as well as Specky Geek talking about Star Wars Unlimited 2. Then Becca, you've got shared a picture of a certain character of
my Furbolg,
of something
my
exciting.
very tall Furbolg.
Is it 7'6", 8'6"? No, what? How tall is she?
I can't remember.
Let's find this.
For our
8'10".
podcast listeners, she is 8'10". She has blue furred skin, red hair, and cow-like ears, and she is both carrying an axe and a bunch of flowers.
Join us in the Discord to see the full beauty of this character.
Full beauty of the Furbolg.
And it looks cool. Gog has got been to have some volumes signed. I don't know what they are though. I think there was conversations in the Discord again. And then Specky Geek was showing a Highland cow from Lizzie's farm near the Licky Hills. That's quite
brilliant name.
Quite cute. And then Jen, again, evening Jen, shared about some stickers and making use of the stickers rather than just having them in the drawer somewhere. And then I shared just a couple of pictures of going to see the Women's League 2 Yorkshire Women versus Derbyshire Falcons, and the Yorkshire Women won, which is very cool, as well as an electric car that I have purchased in the last couple of weeks.
Thank you,
finally, yes, nearly finally, I'm not sure. I think there is actually one more slide. Penultimate slide. Note just has shown off the finished creation, and I just had to kind of bring up one of the larger pictures because I thought that looked fairly awesome there, of a train coming out of a tunnel.
Nice.
Is it an engine coming out of a tunnel?
Going into the tunnel.
It's a shunter.
Is it shunting forward?
Yeah.
So that's that. And then Tim, your good self.
Yeah, I went to a tea lock-in for Bird and Blend because they launched the new tea wall in Lincoln.
Very cool.
So there I am with a branded cupcake with other loyal customers who were there and had a really good time and spent a little bit of money to get lots of tea stuff.
I did find it ironic of going into a Bird and Blend place and then you all having cupcakes rather than tea.
We had cupcakes, tea cocktails, sampled all the new teas, and then I bought loads of matcha and some blends for the new tea as well.
I have yet to have a matcha.
I will make you one.
I'm yet to have a good matcha.
I will schedule time.
Will you do all the fancy whisking?
I bought myself a fancy whisker.
That's what I'm wanting. I want someone to do me a
heats up the
fancy...
milk into a latte as well.
Nice. that's what appeals. I like there is a ritual about matcha that it rivals my flat white, so it does appeal.
I think there's somebody who we have played D&D with before on this podcast who at Greenbelt saw the matcha tea and thought, oh, that looks healthy, and tried some and deeply regretted it. But I won't mention Tim by name.
It wasn't sweetened matcha, was it?
No.
It wasn't sweetened matcha. Oh.
And finally, as I mentioned at the very beginning, here's a picture of my feet in my new trainers. And I forgot to mention, Strava had clocked today that I have kind of registered 300 activities on Strava. And that was a train that I was waiting for as well.
Nice.
So you can find all
Strava.
these pictures.
Yeah, Strava, if you want to sponsor us.
Absolutely. Folks, you can find all of those pictures and I'm sure more on our Discord. And that is the end of our geeky gallery. Yeah. Is there anything left to say as we're kind of just rocked over the 9 o'clock mark?
Next week, we're doing The Great Unwatched. So if there's any TVs or movies that's in your
digital pile,
cassette pile, like
DVD
let us
pile.
know. Let us know in the comments of the video or in our Discord.
Indeed. Becca, anything to finish on?
Just trying to, I don't know. There's something about the connection of all the. You think of all the people who've written all the books with all the words in all the times, in all the spaces, that when you pick that up, it's you and that person having a conversation. And there's something really magic about a book. And I find that incredibly loud and incredibly hopeful. And I'd hate to get to a world where we don't hold books in our hand and don't revere that kind of knowledge sharing. So yeah, other knowledge is available. I'm being surrounded by cats now.
There's two folks on podcasts.
Becca's just summoning cats to them.
Well, on that note, good night, folks. Thank you for tuning in, and remember to like, subscribe, and all that gubbins. But for now, have a good evening, day, or whenever you're listening to us. Bye-bye.
Ta-ra.